This is my new project, which is the Army of the Wreck of the Unbelievable. This project, I want to really explore the definition of narrative and how we believe what we believe about things. And for me, it's very much about understanding that where do we get our belief from? Obviously, we can write it, we can read about it. But in truth, in history, where do we find that? We rarely get the whole picture. We rarely get every single detail. And it's in fact those gaps and those bits in between is where we find our belief. So I wanted to start this project with a character, with a person. And I decided on the collector. This collector, I've decided, is an ancient, someone we've not perhaps seen in Age of Sigmar yet. I think for me, it's about understanding his motivations. So why is he collecting these things? Why is he a collector? So that goes back to he's an ancient. So perhaps he's mastered all of the important things and necessities of life and can now concentrate on just collecting beautiful things. And to do that, obviously he's going to need some technology or some magic that we don't quite understand yet, and I'm not going to explain it because I don't know it. But what we do know is he lost his collection. A lot of his amazing pieces of art that he's collected from across the realms, from across the eras, he's lost them. Mainly to his ship being destroyed by Deepkin, and he spent a long time now learning to understand where that wreck happened. He's got some technology that allows him now to breathe underwater, so he can help discover where all of his wreck treasures are. And we're going to kick off my story with understanding how is he going to lift them off the bottom of the sea. Another element that I think is important for me is how to make sure we understand that the Age of Sigmar and the kind of high magic that we have here. And so for me, it was the ability that if he was searching for a way to get access, get back his treasures, get back his collection, then why wouldn't he want to perhaps get them to come to him? So for me, understanding that now available from in the realms, or understood in the realms, is the gift of Animus, the ability to bring statues to life, made perfect sense to include that within his skills, within what he was going to do. So right off the bat, I knew he wasn't going to be able to get all of these elements himself. He can't. They're massive statues made of gold and jade and silver, and so he really needed some help. So of course, what he wanted to do was hire a ship. And to hire that ship, I decided he was going to hire the last market of Batir. So the last market of Batir is a fragment, is a remnant of the once great trading city. It still acts in the same way in that it buys and sells and trades in exotics and unusual stuff. It even moves between realms because obviously it can float, as the original city did. It does need to use the larger realm gates like those of Hammerhall, places like that. But its role is that means that the crew needs to be pretty self-sufficient, so we hold a whole range of people on board. So let me introduce you to the crew. We have to start off, of course, with the mistress of the last market. She's got her accountant with her here. And at the back, the tax collector, the tax man. He collects all fees and levies needed on board ship. And they're accompanied by Ignis, the fire mage, always useful on your travels. Here we have General Janus, hot off his campaign against the Euthemists, and the signalman here making sure everybody knows what's going on. Down looking after the ship, we've got Durgan and Screw Lugnut. The engine riggers are making sure everything is ship shaped. Of course, we've got this important steam crane, which we're going to use to lift up the treasures from the seabed. But before we do that, we've got other important people on board. Like here we can see the ship's cook with a big pan of favourite peas. We've got some treasures here already been brought up. We go across here and we can see up front, looking out for everybody, is the collector. We've got the boarding party here. So these are like the ship's marines. They're the ones that are going to manage any intruders, anyone coming on board. And for some long distance action, of course, we're going to need some cannon, of which there's 2. One up front and one firing over here. Now all those cannons won't be very good unless they know what they're looking at. So of course up here we have long sight, ship's navigator, and this all comes together as the last market of Batir. So for me the whole project is about understanding how we define these different spaces. How do we define the narrative? And for me, you find your belief in the gaps, you find your belief in where there isn't stuff. And actually when you play games and you interact with other players or the events, you'll actually find some elements there that work better than you could have imagined. And then they become part of the history, part of what's going on. I think the other thing to really kind of hit home for me is the fact that even if we look back at real history, you can have 2 people who have witnessed exactly the same thing, but will tell completely different stories, see it in completely different ways. So I don't really feel there is any actual 100% accurate history. It's all about interpretation. It's all about understanding. So I was super pleased. Managed to get together this beautiful art book, big chunky art book of all the collector's pieces that he's got together. So here's the piece called Demon Without Bowl, and here you go, the final playing piece, and has it seen in your art book. So hopefully this video has helped explain what I've been trying to do with this project, how exploring the sense of narrative and belief. If you want to find out a bit more, there's a documentary that's been made and it's on Netflix. It's called The Treasure of the Wreck of the Unbelievable. Go and check it out. Thank you.